Hey there, all you drug users. No, I'm not talking about hitting the crack pipe, but maybe that's some of you. What most people don't understand is that most of us, and by most of us, I mean virtually everyone, is a drug user in America. Not necessarily talking about illicit narcotics, things like maybe THC, marijuana under federal law, cocaine, heroin, and so forth. I'm talking about caffeine. I'm talking about nicotine. I'm talking about antihistamines used to treat allergies. Those are all drugs. Ibuprofen, Tylenol, sleep aids, whether prescription or over-the-counter, statins, blood pressure medications, you get it. Drugs are a huge category that goes all the way at one end from Schedule I controlled substances, things that are just pretty much always illegal all the time, exception THC, to things that are, you can just buy over the counter. Almost everyone in America who doesn't live off the grid, poop in a hole, and sell Christmas trees is taking drugs and is a drug user. Why am I talking about this? Because any law that is dealing with guns, drugs, you add the two together, may be illegal. That's something that we have to be worried about. Not because it's necessarily going to become weaponized against the American people in 2025 or 2026, but more like 5, 6, 10 years off. Remember, it wasn't that long ago that in the state of Tennessee, a deep red state, that the legislature there proposed suspending gun rights for people who were being treated by ordinary medical doctors prescribing lawful medications to treat basic things like depression, OCD, and other things. Suspended gun rights. No purchasing firearms. So guys, we're really not that far away, and that's the reason why this case is so important. And I know that I say that a lot. Yeah, that's because I'm covering important cases. So guys, we're going to be talking about what happened in the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, why that matters, and where this goes next, because bluntly, this could really affect all of us. And let me know if you just got that dad joke. So guys, let's get into it. So what are we talking about? We're talking about a federal statute, 18 U.S.C. 922 sub G sub 3. This is the thing that makes it illegal for someone to, for instance, purchase a firearm if they are an unlawful user of or addicted to a controlled substance. The case is U.S. versus Harris, and the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, which, by the way, this is a very important circuit. And I don't say that about every circuit. This is headquartered out of Philadelphia. It covers the swing state of Pennsylvania, the not so swing states of New Jersey and Delaware. But also, there's about 2.2 million United States corporations that are headquartered out of Delaware. A full 2/3 of the Fortune 500 companies in the United States are incorporated out of Delaware, meaning this is a really big deal circuit court, federal court of appeals. So things start at federal district court, that's the trial court, and then they go up to the federal circuit court of appeals, and then they go up to the United States Supreme Court. U.S. Supreme Court only hears about 1% to 2% of appeals that go to it. So these circuit courts of appeals are effectively the de facto Supreme Courts for these particular regions. So they're really important, okay? And the Third Circuit is more important than most. Just being blunt with you. Right now, by the way, that circuit, it has 14 judges. 6 right now have been appointed by Republican presidents, 6 by Democrat presidents. These are lifetime appointments. If you did the math, 14 judges, 6. Yes, we only have 12 judges. President Trump gets to appoint 2 more judges to this circuit during this term. So what's the bottom line up front? The bottom line up front is this. The ruling in the Harris case here confirms that, at least in the eyes of the Third Circuit, there is a historical and constitutional justification for disarming individuals who regularly use mind-altering substances that may make them a risk to others. However you choose to define that. Yeah, it's pretty nebulous. You can see why I've got some issues with this. What Harris did is he challenged, through I believe it was his federal public defender, the conviction here on the basis of what we call a facial challenge or a prima facie challenge. There are 2 different types of challenges when you challenge a law. One is what we call a facial challenge, which is low resolution. This is saying it's always going to be unconstitutional in all of its applications. Okay, we call this a prima facie challenge or on its face. The other type is what's known as an as-applied challenge. This is more of a look. We're not trying to strike down the law. We're simply saying that this law is unconstitutional as it applies to this particular set of circumstances. So Mr. Harris tried for what's called a facial challenge to basically strike down the whole thing, obviously arguing it does not fit the history and tradition test. The Third Circuit saw it differently. Very briefly, they basically went to a bunch of colonial era laws as well as early Republic and so forth. So that is the strike zone that the Supreme Court has sanctioned as, look, this is good to go. However, keep in mind that Justice Thomas very pointedly said that not all law, not all tradition is created equal. However, there are different ways of basically disarming colonials back then under the law if they were actively drunk, actively impaired, and so forth. Again, you can see where this is going. Stay tuned. I'm putting the pieces on the board. Then we're going to start playing chess, or checkers if you prefer, but chess. Mr. Harris basically said that, look, the term unlawful user of is too vague because his case is talking about marijuana. He said that as a result, it violated his due process, and because such a blanket bar on marijuana users like him can violate the Second Amendment, therefore, this is unconstitutional. The court, as already mentioned, is going to disagree, but they're going to take an interesting tact on how they get there. They say, look, this is not unconstitutional on its face. It's not facially unconstitutional. However, Harris's chief remaining avenue was to challenge the statute on an as-applied basis to him, arguing that the ban, though possibly valid in some contexts, say for heroin addicts, say for PCP enthusiasts, or crack cocaine enthusiasts. I don't know. Just pick something that in your head is like really aggressive, and let's just kind of go there as being safe territory for now, okay? And I'm not suggesting that it is. We're just moving forward with the conversation, kids. Arguing that the ban, though possibly valid in certain contexts, was unconstitutional as enforced against his specific conduct, namely someone who was an admitted regular marijuana user without a history of violence or dangerous behavior. See how we're disconnecting this, okay? Just because you're a drug user does not necessarily mean that you are prone to violence or that you're going to be dangerous. And certainly if you look at someone's track record, vis-a-vis, say, criminal arrests, convictions, and so forth, hopefully just convictions though, you can start to see that pattern emerge or not be present at all. Safe person, someone with no history. Dangerous person, 20-time felon for beating people up. You can kind of see how that works. It was on this point that the court actually basically agreed with him, vacated, so in other words, cleared out the conviction and remanded it back to the district court for specific fact-finding on what's going on here with his past, his drug use, all that other kind of stuff. So what does this mean and why does it matter? What this means is that the law, the statute still stands very much intact. Now we potentially have this road for all these individualized as-applied challenges. However, the test that's going to be used, generally speaking here, on remand back to the district court, the individualized fact-finding is going to be based around a bunch of different, some hard, some soft factors, like the length and recency of the drug use, the nature of the drug, because we all know not all drugs are the same. We talked about caffeine, nicotine, sleep aids, so forth. Hopefully we can all agree and be on stable ground when saying antihistamine is not the same as, say, crack laced with PCP or something like that. What are the effects on the cognition and impulse control of the individual from the drug that they are using? And finally, whether the particular individual in question has any history of acting unsafely with firearms while using. So why does this all matter? It all matters because now we're talking about individual courts going on super nebulous fact-finding missions and bluntly coming up with their own particular ideas about what different drugs do. Again, there's a lot of things that I think are reasonably black and white. There's a lot of things that I think a lot of people can agree on are much more gray than black or white. What are a judge's particular opinions about a certain drug? What are their opinions about firearms, about the Second Amendment? How much money do you have to hire an expert to push this and to fight back against a government's expert? All of these things are soon to be potentially on the table. Again, not tomorrow, probably not a year from now, but potentially at some point down the line. And when we start tying up core constitutional rights around nebulous, individualized tests that empowers judges to strip or uphold the Constitution as applied to different individuals, that is a step in the wrong direction. While this ruling may be a slow-burning fuse, there may be something at the end of it, and it may be too late for us to figure that out if these type of laws and rulings continue to expand. I appreciate you sticking around this long. Be sure to hit that like button. Let me know what your favorite drug is down in the comment field below. Mine's caffeine. I'll just tell you that up front. Our quote of the day comes from one of the all-time best, Marcus Aurelius, who said, quote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Oh, Marcus. Gone but not forgotten." I will see your favorite drugs. Wow, this could be interesting. I will see your favorite drugs down in the comment field below. Let me know what you think about these type of laws in general. I'm genuinely curious to hear what you think. Is this going to be a big threat down the line? How and when could it be weaponized? All that kind of stuff. And I will see you in the comment section and in the next one. Take care. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this one, please feel free to check out some of our other great content, and we'll see you in the next one.